Now I'm not muted. Let me know you can hear me. I'm doing a bit of a different setup now, so just want to make sure the mic works. Let me just make sure also that we are indeed live. It's going to be a fun one. Very talkative, very chill. Yeah, I can hear myself. Good, good, good. So, a couple of things. First off, hopefully better audio quality because I am indeed using my my mic finally. I just worked on editing a few of these live streams into smaller, shorter snippets, and I really suffered from the quality of the audio. So that gave me the kind of push to go ahead and do this. So today, as the title suggests, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about your art challenges. So I really want to open up the stage for you. I do have a couple of questions that I can start by addressing, but mostly I want to hear your thoughts and the things that basically worry you, the things that you're, um, that maybe don't allow you to create what you want or you feel like you're struggling with. That's the kind of thing I want to hear about, and hopefully we can help. Again, I have a few questions from Instagram, and also a couple of people asked if they can send me a link, and then I'll address it here. So feel free to do that as well. I think this is going to be a more like a subtle live stream, one of these more relaxed ones. So feel free to chime in again. Let me know if you have any questions. I do see Serenity here. And by the way, let me know where you're from, what time it is, what's up. So Serenity says, I would love to learn more about sketching prior to starting my paintings. How do you know what to outline on sketch? Is it the different colors, elevations, shadows, and highlights, all of the above? Yeah, so that's actually a great place to begin with. And all of the above is true in a way. It will depend on a lot of different things. Hey, Christine, how are you? Good morning. It will definitely depend on what you want to achieve. So I like to do a hybrid approach of kind of combining the outline of the objects as well as the light and shadow conditions. That's how I like to do it. I find that it gives me a good balance of I know I can better give things volume and make them look solid. And then I also know how to do the light and shadow. Now, sometimes if the color dictates something like the very extreme color change that really is going to be a permanent part of the painting's motif, idea, story, I'll definitely put that in. If I have a very cool background and then something warm and shiny in the front, I'll definitely include that. So I will say it will depend on what you want to achieve, what you want your final result to look like, what you need personally to better orient yourself around a painting. It has a lot of factors to it. But yeah, I think that's a good place to start. Feel free to ask any follow ups. I will just mention it's really worthwhile to learn again how to sketch things accurately. I first if it's a complex scene, I sketch the objects, try to go for a three-dimensional feel, and then add the light and shadow. But if it's very small, like the portraits I demonstrate live, then in this case, I'll probably actually just put in the light and shadow shapes. That's something that very well may happen. Okay, so if that makes sense, we got a couple of more people here. So let's see again. Christine Bourgeois, good morning, all. Thank you for being here. Tarcisio, hi. Liron, welcome back. Thank you for being here, my friend. Laura Merrifield, good morning, evening, everyone. 6 a.m. here in California. I will note, by the way, there may be a delivery that I'll have to go for a moment and pick up. So you'll forgive me if there's an interruption. I'm gonna leave my phone. Maybe I'll put it on silent and just make sure I look at it. Silent mode on. I'm gonna place it here in front of me, and hopefully I'll see if someone calls. Hey Megan, how are you? Hello everyone. Gail here. Good morning, everyone. 9 a.m. in Woodstock, Canada, and snowing. Audio is good. Thank you so much. Yeah, is it snowing? So here it's cold. It's raining. It's been a nice morning, but then it started raining again. Hey White Reza, how are you? Hey Marjorie, good morning. It is 9 a.m. upstate New York. Looking forward to today. Cool, cool. So yeah, about the weather. Actually, it's been a bit of a more got my mandatory tiramisu taste coffee. Disgusting, but I need it for energy. Disgustingly sweet. Um, but yeah, the weather has been a bit wild this week. Actually, we've had a lot of what's called like a storm, but it's just winter to me. I think nothing too special about it. Just a lot of rain. Today was nice and sunny, and now it began again raining. David Green, my current main issue is simplification. You seem to do a mix of simple and complex, but would appreciate your views on simplification. Yeah, it's a very general question. Um, I think there are a few aspects here. So simplifying is not only for a finished result, it's also a part of the process. So I like to start with something simple so that I can build up on it, right? So not only do I simplify what I see, I also start simplified. Even if you see a complex drawing, I start simplified so that I know how to build up on it. And I actually have a good example. Let me show you. I'm working on a scene of Pokemon. Now I know that's not the subject for everyone here, but I want to show you. So this is what I've got so far. Just a cute little scene, Pokemon playing around. And you see, I start with very basic shapes. Like what you see here is actually just ovals to indicate where I'm going to place them. So simplifying is not only something that is shown in the end result, but also in the process itself. I honestly love to simplify as much as I can very often, because when I look at my drawing, I want to know what I'm painting. Right. I want to know I want it to be very clear. Now you could say, well, you need more details. Not necessarily. If you have too many details, I find that I have a very hard time um sometimes reading the scene, and it's too crowded, right? So I think what you want to do is maybe find the middle ground that will work for you, David. Try out a few different levels of simplification. What you'll probably find is that if you want to get a very detailed result, you'll probably put in more details. Now, I actually like the hybrid approach of you put very few details. You paint a layer, and then if you feel like you need more details, you just go ahead and add them on top of the paint, and that actually works. You do need sometimes a softer lead pencil to get that done, because the harder leads won't come off onto the paper if it's already wet. It's very hard to draw on it. So yeah, just my 2 cents. I think the best thing to do would be, if you have even a specific example of asking how I would simplify something, send it over. I can actually show photos here, so if you can just send it over, and I'll try to show it up on the screen. But yeah, I hope those quick 2 cents help. Oops, jumped ahead. John S. Hi, good morning. My current art challenge is turning a daytime reference photo into a nighttime scene. Any tips? Yeah, that's a rough one. So you're actually looking at a photo that is daytime, and you want to paint it as nighttime. So every time you don't have a reference that's exactly what you want, it's going to be fairly challenging to paint. So my take on it is this: I would steer clear of inventing too much if I'm just getting started. If you're building some experience and you feel like you want to tackle it and you want to invent something, you want to change something significant. Like I make changes all the time, but to change it from day to night, that's a bit more complex, right? Here's what I would do. I would do what's called a research stage. So you want to find references that will support what you're planning on doing. So you have your photo, which is daylight. Find a photo. If you have the same place at nighttime, of course, that kind of solves your problem. But if you don't, find a place that's kind of similar at nighttime. So if it's I assume it would be kind of like a cityscape, because that's where you have light. I guess a landscape won't have much light, but yeah, it depends. If you have the moonlight and it's a very dark place, but you do see I would say find a reference that's similar to that with the necessary light and shadow conditions. So a nighttime scene of a similar view, right? If it's a cityscape, find a cityscape at night. If it's a landscape, find the landscape at night. And what you do is you build up like 5 or 6 of these references, and then you combine them. And that's what I'm doing here with. It's so funny with this one, the painting, the sketch that I just showed you. I'm using tons of references of these creatures, these Pokemon, to figure out what they look like, because I don't know exactly what they look like from any angle. The background, which is going to be kind of a tropical environment, I pulled up like 5 reference photos and try to build something from them, right? And if I move a bit, you see here, it's a bit hard to see. I have a few sketches on the wall. That's preliminary sketches of just the overall composition. So you need to find a few references that will guide you, right? And it's kind of like a lot of people in the graphic design concept art industry do. If they have to invent something, so you have to maybe invent a creature for a video game or for a movie or a TV show, what you do is pull up a bunch of references that are similar. So if you want to do a dragon, You grab like a dragon that's themed like something else. So you grab a picture of an actual dragon, or maybe avoid that. You grab a picture of a chicken or a bird, or you grab a picture of a snake, and you try to combine all of these references into something new and original, right? So when you're talking about painting something that is not there in front of you, it's so difficult. Drawing it is hard enough. So painting it, when you add the factor of color in, makes it even harder. So the short version of it, find a similar reference photo that is a similar location in night and try to figure out the patterns, right? So at night, instead of having a few shadows and a lot of light, you have a few lights and mostly everything is dark, right? The street lights and stuff like that become a little more prominent. Things like that become very significant. So try and get that pattern into your night scene, into your painting, right? I hope that helps. To me, the answer overall is just to get as much reference as I can, even if it's similar, even if it's partial. See what I mean? Because really painting based on nothing is really hard. And if you're painting a day scene, a night scene based on a light scene, the daytime scene, you're basically painting based on nothing. So just hopefully that helps. If you want to do a follow-up, feel free. Everyone, if you have a follow-up, just ask away. If you have any specifics, of course, let me know. Hey, Barb, good morning, Liron. I'm doing your watercolor class, and it is wonderful. I'm an intermediate watercolor artist and find it very valuable. Thank you so much. So there will be a link in the description for anyone who wants to get the frustration-free watercolor course. Also the drawing course, everything is there. Watercolor realism course, I believe January will be out if I work really hard on it. Maybe end of January, maybe start of February, but that's at least what I aim for. So hopefully you'll be able to join that soon. And then you'll have two different, sorry for the ambulance, then you'll have two different kind of things. One that is more let it go, paint freely, enjoy the process, a few basic techniques. The other one will be more focused around realism and getting things to look similar to the reference photo. And even after 7 or 8 years of watercolor painting, I still rely heavily on references. It's very hard to invent. Chen Sun Chu, hello from Taiwan. Thank you so much for being here, my friend. Hope you're doing well. James L. Baker, my challenge is dealing with lights and darks in landscape. Thanks for all the help. Yeah, that can be very tricky. So here's my advice to you. Sometimes for cityscapes, and let me hear if this ambulance comes through too badly, because that's really annoying. To me, it's annoying, but I hope it doesn't. Okay, it's not that bad. Okay. So yeah, what I would say is, unlike a cityscape that has a lot of buildings and sharp shapes and edges that are very clear, when you're looking at a landscape, you, instead of having these sharp individual shapes, you look at a larger pattern. So try and really see those 2 or 3 shapes that are very clear. So for example, you have the sky, of course, then you have the ground, and you have maybe a few levels of, if it's a wide landscape, you'll have maybe a few mountains, stuff like that, right? And try and find the overall pattern. If you take a few steps back, if you squint, that's what you want to capture. Is the mountain going lighter as it moves back? Are you doing something very different where the sky is very gloomy and stormy and the ground is actually well lit and bright, right? Find that large pattern. People tend to try and find a lot of different details within the landscapes when they either don't exist or it's very hard to paint all of them. Instead, I want you to zoom out and find that big pattern. It's even more important in landscapes because they're emptier sometimes. They seem simpler. They're not. They're as challenging as a cityscape, right? It's just a different set of skills. So you want to notice that overall pattern and then find the secondary pattern. So you have the primary pattern, that's the mountain, sky, fields, right? Or maybe it's a cabin in the woods themselves, snow, whatever it is, right? Then find the secondary pattern, which is maybe the trees or a forest, a full forest that's a little darker, or maybe it's crops on the fields, right? Maybe it's people, maybe it's the cabin itself. That's the secondary shape, right? Depends on what you want to focus on. But first, that primary shape, you have to tackle that first. That's at least how I do it. And when I mess up landscapes, usually I wasn't paying attention to that primary thing, because everything else stems from it. Even if you look at works like Joseph Zbukvich does a lot of Tuscany and Italy and scenes that are just vast and beautiful with all of those greens and oranges, just lovely. The thing that makes them work is the overall pattern of the mountains in the background. Maybe they're a little blue, wet and wet, kind of blended. and then the mountain ridge in the front, and then, all of these things. That's what makes the painting. The details later on are kind of decoration. So try and see through the details in the underlying pattern. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Piccolina, hello. Liron from Italy. Thank you for being here. Julie C, hello from Missouri, USA. Thank you so much. Subhash Busal, I do portraits quite good, but have a hard time doing the loose landscapes and still lifes. I rush too much with these kinds of subjects. Yeah, it's interesting. So do you rush? When you say you rush, do you get a lot of details in? Are you impatient? Like, I wonder, I'd like to hear more about that. I'm curious. Because technically speaking, portraits are going to be a little more challenging than landscapes and stuff. I know I said that, for example, cityscape and landscape are similar in a way, even though they're different. They're as hard. And some people may disagree. That's fine. But portraits are a bit of a different thing, because then the likeness really can matter, right? If the likeness isn't as important, that's fine. That's different. That's a different story. But if you're actually trying to get it to look like the person, that's a completely different story. So it's surprising. If you're good at portraits, you're at a good spot, Subhash. So keep at it. It's not that bad. John S says, thanks. Good advice on combining reference photos and making the lights at night prominent and everything else darker. I'm also noticing everything at night is a lot more low contrast. Yeah, to an extent, yes. When it starts to get dark, you get really lower contrast. That is true, with the exception of the actual small lights that are sometimes very strong contrast, right? I don't do many night scenes, by the way, John, you know it. So whenever I do one, and gratefully, so far, they turned out really nice, surprisingly nice. I feel like sometimes I don't deserve how nice they turn out, because I don't do much night scenes. By the way, I found this amazing artist who does night scenes, just incredible. I'll do a painting masters soon on him. Just something spectacular that I actually really looking forward to share with you. So maybe that will be like, and I'm gonna write it down as a note. Maybe that'll be like something that will help a lot of people. I'll find them. I saved a few of their work, and I think you're gonna really like it. So, yep. John says, hi, Liron. Thank you for all the commitment, producing 3 videos every week, and your support and inspiration this year. Here's to a more awesome 2022 with you. Happy holidays, happy painting to everyone. Thank you so much, John. Yeah, thank you. Really, really appreciate your support. Means a lot to me, and I'm trying to do the best I can to always stay accessible, even though it's not easy. Like, just time. There is enough hours in the day. But yeah, thank you so much. This may change, by the way, this schedule. I don't know yet exactly what I'm going to do with it. I'm considering doing some modifications that will basically be a quality of life for me, and hopefully lead to better results in the future, in terms of both business results and like actual results, like videos, better videos, stuff like that. We'll see. Sorry about that. But thank you so much. Kanchan and Diren. And by the way, I'll mention that that's something I heard from a few people. That's like 2021 was rough. So having that constant, just content that's a little more relaxing, maybe a little more chill, helped a lot of people that were stuck at home. So happy I could help that way. Kanchan and Diren says, hello from US. How do we get all the small structures in the right perspective in a big cityscape? The answer to that is actually very simple. You create a grid that's based on the perspective. Let me see if I can find an example, just because it's not really, this setup I'm doing right now is not that comfortable for drawing, but it is, but I can show you like a photo example. So let me try and do that. I just want something that will feel like a cityscape. Let's do 3-point perspective. 3-point. I think that'll look good. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to show you a bit of an exaggerated example, maybe, but it will hopefully. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Save image, desktop. So let me see how I can bring the picture over here. Banners? No, it's not. It's brand. It's so weird how it works in StreamYard, but I'm going to try. Let's see. Let's see if I can get it to work. Okay, so here we go. So what I like to do is create a grid that shows where the perspective, where the points are, like this. Okay, It shows you where everything is. And what this does is, you see how it comes from two different directions, kind of like this, right, towards us. It's a bit hard to show. Yeah, exactly. So what you get is, let me get rid of this for a moment. You get three vanishing points, right? And if you learn about perspective, you learn about those vanishing points. So it goes like this, and from the top. And I have a good live stream on perspective, so check that out if you haven't. And then on that you base your buildings. That's the only way to get it. It's not as much about a skill as it is about the process, because learning about perspective, learning about 3D, that's something anyone can do. It's not the easiest, but it is possible, of course. But after you do that, it's about the process. You have to first layer out this, okay? And then you know that all lines of one building adhere to one perspective, all the lines from the other one to the other one. All the ones that you look at below go from this vertical line, right? The vertical line that fans, right? The perspective fans. If you learn how to create this kind of a grid, you can base the cityscape you're looking at on that, right? But do check out that live stream, because it shows just that. I really go over scenes and analyze them and show how I would paint, how I would sketch them. It's really important, because that's the the main thing. You have to place a grid. No one knows and can do this just without looking. You have to base it on something. It's kind of like painting without a reference. It's really hard. By the way, how is the audio when I take move a bit to the back? Let me know, because I don't want it to be too loud if I blow my nose in your face. But yeah, it's about the process, right? For these Pokemon that I'm sketching, for this one in particular, you'll notice how I'm just using kind of oval rounded shapes. I then like to do a cross contour. So for example, let's say my head, I'm drawing it, and that's the oval shape. I like to do like a rubber band that goes like this around, and then one that goes like this around, like that. So this shows the center of the face, and this shows the center top to bottom, this center right to left, right? And then I know where, sorry, bump the mic. Then I know where to place the eyes, right? I know where to find the center, where to place the nose. But you have to base it on something like that. That's the bottom line. But you have to go and learn and gain that knowledge, right? So check out that live stream. Check out my video on three-dimensional shapes with Pokemon. That's a good one too, by the way. Thank you so much, by the way, Kantan, for the super chat, and thank you, Jody. Really appreciate it. Means a lot. Thank you so much. I'm gonna buy more coffee with it, probably. But thank you so much. Ruth is not here. She's so ungrateful. Like, people pay for her dog food here, and she's not here to watch it and say thank you. Thank you so much, Jody. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, Kanchan. So I hope that helps. Feel free, once again, do follow-ups, and I'll be happy to dive deeper on any issues you may have. Laura, as far as turning day scenes into night, I want to add, would value studies be critical in this process? If you're not as familiar with night scenes, yes. I personally would do a quick value study. Now, value studies can be a little rough in this instance because everything is dark. So maybe work with like a Sharpie or a marker or something like that, so you don't have to spend hours darkening things. I know from experience, because it just takes too long, and then you use an eraser to bring out the lights, right? And it's just not an effective process. I would even do this study on a computer. I would just take a rectangle in Photoshop or whatever, fill it up with black color, and then bring out the lights. But to answer generally, value studies for scenes you're less familiar with are very important to me personally. I'm more familiar with day scenes and cityscapes and stuff like that, so I don't do many value studies. But in this example, I would do one. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Laura. Dragonfly Art Cafe. Hey, Liron, I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. I'm doing really well. It's been ups and downs, as usual. I'm finding myself in a place where I want to navigate this ship of what I'm doing in the place that will make me happy. And I feel like I have this tendency to get into a habit and a loop where I'm really good at performing what I'm used to performing and doing it every day and being persistent with videos and content. But then I have to stop and think, why am I doing this? Take a few steps back, make sure that the way I do it is is the right way for me and the way that makes me happy. Sometimes an actual change will be required, but sometimes it's all about a change in perspective. So we don't have to necessarily change what you do. You may have to change how you look at something, and that'll make you feel better about it. Okay. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good, even though there are a lot of challenges, I will admit. Gail, how are you? Agree with Bob. Highly recommend frustration-free water. Thank you so much. People are so kind. Blanca Rodriguez, hello, Liron from Lima. Thank you so much for being here, Blanca, as always. I tried to paint a car in perspective, was a real challenge, very frustrating. Yeah, I actually have a few videos on drawing cars. It's not the easiest thing. Um, for most of the questions I get about this, about three-dimensional shapes and perspective, if I can just get you to the stage where you're able to draw a cube from any angle from imagination, or not just a cube, but a box as well, but better a cube, because a cube has more constraints. You actually have to have all lines the same length, which is harder than a box. So if I can have you reach that point where you can draw that cube from any angle, this will become easier. The problem I find personally, by the way, Blanca, that happens to me a lot. I'll draw the cube, and then I jump too fast to the details, and I don't allow myself to build enough basic shapes before I add those details, because I have some experience and I think to myself, oh, I can jump ahead to this stage. So the less you know, the more likely you are to do that, and that's just something that isn't as recommended. Now, another issue, and that's something big with perspective, things that go away from you really change in their length. It's very non-intuitive. So if you look at my hand, for example, it's moving towards you right now, right? If you look at it like this, it's very easy. You can measure and say, okay, so my fingers, this finger, kind of the same length as this, right? But the moment you place it in perspective, this distance appears to be much longer than, you see what I mean? So yes, there is a lot that goes into it. I'd actually dive deeper on measured perspective if you want to have an easier time drawing cars. It's just something that has to be built stage by stage by stage. I still mess these up a lot and have to erase and redo. So yeah, I can do a more specific one on cars if anyone wants to. Just the drawing stage, right? I do plenty of cars that people don't care about. It's funny, but yeah. White Reza, there are too many videos, can't follow. Yeah, so do you refer to my own videos? Yeah, because I may may reduce the quantity just for a while, just to balance it out for myself. Dragonfly Out Cafe, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Yeah, thank you everyone for the blessings. Thank you so much. You got it, Blanca. My pleasure. Thank you for being here. Conscience says there's always that one car or one small building that looks out of shape, while major structures are in harmony. Oh, I see. Yeah, so that's interesting. Feel free to drop me an email with the specific example, and I'll kind of let you know my thoughts on it. I think that'll be the easiest, actually. Just send me an email with the picture, or you can even send it now. I can try and give feedback. Just because of the format is not as easy, because I can't place the picture here. It's going to be all over the screen. But definitely, we can try and do something like that. Just send it over. Point at the buildings that you think are out of line, and I'll try and figure out why. Because sometimes you'll have a few buildings that conform very nicely to your perspective, to the grid you put, and then some of them are either round or have a irregular shape, don't have just 90-degree angles. They're a little more complex, and then you have to learn a few tricks. It's a lot of it is tricks, like learning how to um, circumvent the not knowing exactly how to base it on the grid. So you find a few angles or corners to connect, and then you know what a diagonal line looks like. But I get it. I get that frustration. So I think that will be the best way. I'm curious to see. So I'll be looking out for an email. David Green, I can't remember if you've done cars in the rain. It seems to be a popular subject, but very difficult. So you know what, David? I just mentioned, I don't remember even if I mentioned it. So do you refer to just normal car scene in the rain? Because I actually have a plan for a painting that's going to be super difficult. Of how when you look at a window, out a window, and there are raindrops on it, and the raindrops aren't focused and everything behind it is blurry. That's the kind of thing I'm going to try and paint soon. And that's super hard because you need to essentially get everything wet in wet to get all the background blurry. Now, I'll probably use opaque paint for the drops so I can paint over them. Still going to be tough. I don't know if I did like a Joseph Zbukvich kind of cars in the rain. I feel like I have so many preconceived notions about this kind of a scene that I prefer not to. I did cars in the dark, like at night. That was really cool, a really cool subject. So yeah. Coco, hi Liron from Kansas City. Could you talk a little about your frustration-free watercolor class? Yeah, definitely. So basically, I like to create courses that um, solve a specific problem. Um, I think the more specific you can be, the better. With a product that is paid, like my YouTube videos are all over the place. But when it's actually like something you purchase and you expect to have a positive impact on your skills, I try to be very accurate with it and to tackle a single issue. And the issue that kept coming up is people being rigid with watercolor, not knowing how to basically kind of lean back a bit and let the paint do what it does and enjoy it, right? Because you can enjoy watercolor a lot if you know how to build towards that. So if your painting has a lot of large shapes in them, you have a lot of room to do wet and wet and to let things blend and to really put down a shape and wait, just look at it, enjoy it, and then do some wet and wet or wet next to wet, right? And it's so much fun. And so many people cannot achieve that from the emails I was getting, from the questions I was getting. It was so obvious that I'm going to put in my hoodie, it's a little cold. So many people, it was obvious, were having a very hard time achieving that. So I decided to do that, the frustration-free watercolor course. Basically, it's aimed to it's a method I developed. It's called the FASP method, based on a few stages that you just go through them, and you're able to basically peel back the layers and let go more and more and more. So you get to a point where you should be able to just enjoy throwing paint at the paper. And then from that point, you can start actually building some techniques and some discipline. Because if you do everything from the framework of freedom and fun and looseness, you really just enable watercolor to be themselves. And a lot of the paintings that we look at and we really enjoy and like are just artists that know how to let go and let the paint do what it does best. That's mixing and doing what water does and splashes, and it doesn't have to be necessarily tacky effects. It can be something very inherent to the painting, right? But when you look at these paintings that you love, a good example that always jumps to mind is Mark Foley. I keep recommending his work because it just shows how you can do a big wash that has a lot of interesting variations in it, and then you can enjoy it. You can let it kind of paint itself in a way. That's why I did it. Now, as for the content, so basically we work on freedom, we work on automating the painting process. So I'm giving a few tips that just allow you to be faster when you paint, because time does matter and you want to be able to take your time a little more, think a bit, mix a bit. So if you can save time in different ways by automating some of the process, that's great, right? And then S is skills, so FASP, F-A, freedom. I forgot the what I just said. Automating the process, skills, which was actually working on those skills. In the watercolor realism course, we'll dive much deeper on skills, but it's going to be very specific set of skills as well. And then P is process. So I really want to give you a step-by-step way of achieving that freedom, right? Process for results. Because after all, you want to paint freely, but you also want to get the results you want. And the result you want is what you have in mind, right? It's not, when you look at a reference photo, the result you want isn't necessarily that. Very often that has a lot of boring things, that has a lot of excessive details, that is too complex or too boring to paint, right? What you're visualizing in your mind, how can you bring that onto the paper? So that's a frustration-free watercolor course. I can go over some like lesson names if it interests anyone. I never really did that, I think. So let's see. Let me open it up real quick because the lessons have interesting names. So I think you'll enjoy it. So I'm just going to log in for a second. Okay, let's see here. So some lesson names. Thank you for not allowing me to log in. Did I forget my password? That's pathetic. Because I have like a million users for testing. There we go. I think I got it now. So yeah. So I have like introduction, of course, and then the fast method I explained. Then it's like, let's have some fun, wild sessions, which is a great one. The magic wand, dumb brush strokes, painting alla prima, smart decisions, minimalism, use pure paints, becoming a master, values over everything. Do you need to know how to draw, fluidity and even washes, the 6 core watercolor techniques, effective brush strokes, trusting the process. Every one of these I can do like a YouTube video on for sure. Drawing for a painting, light to dark, strategy talk, start small and controlled, relax, let's use the bead, relax some more, stop lines. Stop lines is a great concept. I like that. Chunking, what's wrong, how to find mistakes. Um, and conclusion. So these are the names of the lessons, if that's interesting to you. And thank you for the great questions. That's like the best questions that people like to hear. Like, tell us about your movie, tell us about your product. That's the best. So thank you, Kogo. So that's the idea of the course. It's aimed at allowing you to let go, really enjoy the process, and the results will follow, I'm sure. But because even in like private students that come to the studio, that I used to have more. Now it's like, because of COVID, it takes a long time, and I don't really like it sometimes. But like private lessons, face to face, same thing. That rigidness, that's being stuck, not being able to let go. That's a thing that, because I don't know why, but to me I never really had that issue. Maybe like the first month or two in watercolor, but then it kind of clicked to me, and I'd love to see more people have that click for them. Jody, thank you so much once again for the blessings and for the super chat. Kanchan, thank you so much. Kanchan and Diran, thank you so much. Thank you for the time and patience. Happy holidays. You got it. Chen Sun Chu. Mr. Chen Chung Wei says hi to you. Oh, thank you so much. He's amazing. Like, watching him paint is, I'm curious to hear if you're friends. Let me know. Watching him paint is like insane. It's every brush mark is smart, is measured, and it's just so efficient, effective. His colors are on point always. I love his deep greens and browns, the way he uses them. Oh, man, some of his work is just so good. It's been a while since I just scrolled through his feed. I should take a look. I do remember one you did about perspective on car wheels. That helped me a lot. Yeah, thank you, Kansan. There is a live stream as well. I think it was called Perspective Live Stream. If you haven't watched that one, I think you'll find it very useful. I really analyze the perspective on different scenes and then show you how to build them or recreate them. It's a live stream not many people watched, and I think it's probably some of my best perspective lessons, because nothing is better than actually looking at a photo and analyzing it. I think that's like the best thing you can do, and then to show how you would rebuild that. Sorry, I'm looking this way because my phone, I want to make sure I don't miss the FedEx. They should call me soon. Let's see, skip a few. Monica and Jay, good morning, Liron. Thank you for being here, Monica. Blanca, you got it. Ellison, hello from England. My problem is loosening up, getting a bit better very slowly, but still tend to look too illustrational. Happy holidays, everyone. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, when you say loosening up, I'm like, oh, the frustration-free watercolor course, but that's a bit different. Now, what you're talking about, if it looks too illustrational, let me see. I just want to make sure you didn't write anything else. I missed. Yeah, okay. That's a bit of a different issue. So let me give you like a little bit of an introduction to a concept I think will help. So the way we remember things and categorize them in our minds is very symbolic, right? Kids know how to draw a hand when they're very young because they'll draw just 5 weird sausages, right? When you think about like a hat, most people can draw a hat from imagination. It will just look like a symbol of a hat, right? Now, illustration treads that line of things being very symbolic, but still quite convincing. And that's its purpose sometimes. And I think, there are, of course, illustration is a vast thing. Like, a lot of people call full-fledged paintings illustrations, and they look like paintings. That's totally a painting. So that I don't want to get too caught up in the terminology and stuff like that. But I think I get what you mean. The way to become maybe less illustrational and more loose, and funny enough, more realistic in a way, is by learning to see things a little more clearly and accurately, which is something all artists have to learn. I'm still learning, and then painting them the way they do. I actually have a really good demo, but this is super obscure. One time in a live stream, I showed you how I paint a glass of water or something like that, and then I showed you how I paint this bottle, actually, this very same bottle. I think, funny enough, that quick demo is like the peak of showing that, because what I did there was really show how I see the thing as it looks very accurately. So when you look at a face like this, everyone remembers that a nose is kind of like this shape, but to actually draw it the way it appears in front of you, and to not reach into your internal catalog of noses, is very hard. It's very challenging. The way to become less illustrative and more, let's say, impressionistic, or um, like that, you understand what I mean, is by learning to go away from that. One thing that helps me a lot is to analyze my reference photo a little, to turn it black and white, and to see the values more accurately, to posterize it and to see the large shapes a little better, right? To sample the color and see the color accurately, because colors are very misleading too. To shift my focus from lines to shapes, that's another big one. I'm gonna talk about it in the watercolor realism course a lot. So all of these things together compound. I hope I understood your style, Ellison. I actually remember your works. I think I'm seeing it on Instagram. Let me just check. Let me do a bit of detective work, because I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with it from Instagram. But I don't know. Maybe I'm imagining. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Just to make sure that I'm even like close to. I'm sorry. It's just sometimes really hard to remember the usernames and stuff like that. So that's my bad. Yeah, I don't know why I can't find it now, but I know I think I've seen your work. So that's my 2 cents. It's not something that I'm perfectly good at verbalizing yet, but I hope that helps a little. Feel free, as always, just send me an email, show me an example. I'll be happy to give more specific advice. A white Treza, freedom, fun, and looseness is what I experienced after seeing your old video about birds with a few brush strokes. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's one I should watch myself and paint. I always enjoy painting, but this time it was really crazy. Maybe you're onto something, because a few people reached out to me about that video recently. So maybe I should do a follow-up bird video. Fewer brush marks. That's actually it's good insight, because it looks like a lot of people have had that experience with that video. Yep, reducing the number of brush marks can work as a great trick in forcing yourself to loosen up or to paint more freely. So I'm really happy that helped. We'll try and do more of it. By the way, sorry for my beast-like look. I really need to get a haircut and a beard trimmed. Laura, anyone else see the seascape over Liron's left shoulder? I'm seeing the camera across the wall. I'm seeing the camera across the wall as the shape of building rock, and the beam as the straw. That's funny. Seeing shapes. Yeah, for sure. That's actually a painting I bought from the art fair here in Tel Aviv. Alexei Bookingholt's a great artist. Really good one. I'm going to just type it in the chat. Give him some free publicity. Bookingholtz. Hopefully I remember how to spell it out. But yeah, he's really, really good. I have another painting of his somewhere here, hiding. I don't remember where I put it. I love, for me, what I love to put in the studio, which I barely have anything, but when I think about a painting to put here, I like something that really invites me in and gives me a sense of openness, because the studio is, of course, a closed area. So maybe having a feeling of like an open space, a landscape, a seascape, that kind of a thing, I really, really enjoy. So, yep. Megan Kelly, I really enjoyed Frustration-Free Watercolor course. I finished the whole thing and still go back to some lessons sometimes because they're fun and interesting. The only thing that made me hesitate to buy the course was that I didn't know what I was getting with the purchase. The refund guarantee did make me feel confident about purchasing it. Yeah, I always, whenever I'm having a hard time getting a refund from whatever, anything that if I didn't get the thing I paid for, it really bugs me, because I always just refund. You can email me in a year and tell me I bought it, I didn't really like it, can I get a refund? Or I bought it, I just, it wasn't for me, I just didn't have time to paint, didn't have time to use your course, and then I'll just give a refund, because I don't want to hold money that people didn't get something in return to. So I don't know. That's just how it is. But it's good feedback too, to provide more information on what's inside. Probably I should do like a better video on it here on YouTube even. Gotta note that down. And by the way, I may have to take a pee break later on. I just now realized. Um, I drank a lot and didn't go for a while, so we may have a small break. An intermission. What else did I want to say about that? Because that's really interesting. Um, yeah, there's actually a bonus that I forgot to mention. A bonus that I think makes it really worth it. It's just me demoing something to a local Facebook group, and you know what I'm talking about, Megan, probably. And it's in Hebrew with English subtitles. So I think it's just fun to listen to me speak Hebrew, and it's so different. I express myself differently. Everyone has a bit of a different uh, personality in their own native language. And of course, if you're American and you only speak English, maybe you I don't know how familiar you'll be with that, but if you tried any time, if you tried learning a new language, it's like you have a different personality or you have no personality. It's just so hard. But yeah. But thank you so much, Megan. System Feller, a love from Germany to all. Thank you so much. Virendra, thanks for the inputs, Liron. Mark Foley was the takeaway from this live. Yeah, definitely. I'm happy that it helps you just to think about the artist. Sometimes, honestly, I'm the same. I'm like, I just remember an artist exists, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing I need to work on. So yeah. Artist number 12, 5 word sausages. Yeah, that's what hands look like. Alessandro, highly Ron, happy Christmas and happy New Year in advance. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's almost the end of the year. It's pretty crazy. Another year has gone by. Maybe I should do a Christmas stream. We don't celebrate Christmas, but I'd be happy to be here for anyone else who wants to be there. I don't know if you want to. I guess some people do. I do know a lot of people watch the Thanksgiving streams of all kinds of creators just because it's fun. I mean, not everyone also has a big family or a family near them, so it could be nice. Let's see, Christmas. Yeah, okay, so Christmas is actually tomorrow, Christmas Eve. Interesting. I didn't remember if it's this week or next week. But so this is kind of like a pre-Christmas stream. Then that's nice too. Hope everyone has fun plans. I'll try to post some content as well. There's definitely going to be a nice video on Saturday. I hope you'll enjoy that one. But yeah, more values, less lines. Yeah, that is true. That is true. For a less of an illustrative look, more of a impressionistic, realistic. That is true. Takes up Sherpa. I need some basic color mix ideas. Yeah, that could be a good video to make because it's been a while since I did one. I did a few of these actually. Basic color mixes. I can actually give you a few off the top of my head, just to save some time. I really like the Velasquez palette, so that'll be something like a warm blue, so French ultramarine or ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, and burnt sienna. So it's a palette that kind of excludes red. You don't get a strong red. The red comes in the blue, in the warm blue. So it's a blue, it's a yellow, and it's an orange essentially. And it just works so well for landscapes. I love it. I love it for cityscapes too. Honestly, that's a really good one. Another one that I found myself really enjoying was phthalo blue, Parylene red, and Indian yellow. Just two off the top of my head. Now, one that I use very commonly is French ultramarine, Parylene red, and Indian yellow, and sometimes lemon yellow. I started using it recently, but that's kind of the where I'm at, right? So just a few off the top of my head, but it would be a good update because I did a few. If you look for color combos, you'll find a few, but maybe there are new ones that I want to do. So yeah, White Reza. Yes, I think it would be perfect for a live stream to see you paint some quick random birds. I'll print. Oh, good for a live stream too. I thought just a video, but that would work for sure. Ellison says, thanks, Liron. I will email my attempt at Mary the Nazareth that I did after watching last week's live stream. Yours was joyous and fine. Mine lacks any of that. You will see what I read. Okay, let's see. Let's see. I'll have to wait and see. Sometimes we see more faults in our own work than others do, but I'm curious to see it. Actually, let me open it up now. I mean, what the heck? So. Maybe it'll take a few moments for it to show because I'm using a polling to my Gmail inbox. Okay, yeah, we'll wait. Maybe I'll check later on. You can remind me as well if I forget. Worst case, I'll answer within the email. But yeah, let me just check one thing. I was curious. Okay, that's fun. Okay, someone answered to my post on the forum. That's fun. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, let's see here. Seth A says, any advice for doing art while traveling? So I'm the worst person to give that advice. I'll tell you why. Whenever I'm traveling, I end up not doing art at all. I don't know why. It's something about me wanting to be immersed in the trip, and I feel like I spent a lot of my life as an onlooker in a way, outside from the outside, kind of looking at things. Even in conversations with people and in groups, you know, I will participate, and it really depends on the people. Like really close friends, I will participate, but in different situations, I'll find myself more like the person who's looking at the situation from the outside, and I'm kind of more in my head naturally, in a bad way, very often. But it's good as well. So when I'm traveling, I sometimes just kind of like to let that go and really be in the moment. I will say one thing: if it's not going to be easy, you won't be able to do it. So the biggest advice would be for me to take the minimum you need and have it very small and compact. So like a small sketchbook, not too small, so you can actually get some details in. Because sometimes going too small is, for me at least, it makes me lose motivation. I love sketchbooks. Something like this would work really well. Something like Michael Solovyev's sketchbook with Daniel Smith, because that's actually real watercolor paper, 300 grams, high quality. I did the Washtober challenge here, if some of you remember. One of my favorite works here is actually, there's this one that turned out really well. Oops, I can't aim. It's a camera. And there's also, this is my favorite, probably. So something small, preferably hardcover, something like that you can actually carry with you. You don't need a board. You can just hold that. Small palette, but not too small. You need some mixing areas. Brushes, a cup of water, tape, and clips. Bulldog clips, any type of clip will work because outside tends to be windy. Sometimes you want to be able to have your paper not fly on you. That's something that happens a lot. I remember the worst wind I painted in was going to make my entire easel fly. So yeah, I have an easel that I like to open up when I paint outside, rarely, but if you're really on the go and you don't want to carry too much, just have something very basic. If you can have it all fit within one small bag, maybe that fits inside your bag, or just everything fits in the bag easily, that'll be the easiest, I think. Now, if you're talking about actually like the art, the part where you open everything up and you do the art, I would just say, if you're doing plein air or you're drawing or painting from observation, the thing that I would recommend the most, funny, it's not a technique, it's not anything, it's just to really try and be present. That's the one thing I can say, because when you work outside in front of the thing, you hear all the sounds, you smell sometimes the smells if you're painting a market scene or something like that. Just allow the scene to carry you to wherever it will. Don't even concern yourself with techniques, with don't try and be too, um don't try and aim for a good result. That's a common concern, like, I didn't get the drawing right. People take way too long to draw outside. Just get something on paper and paint it and enjoy it. You can always do another attempt, but I'd much rather you get it done and be in the moment when you do. If you want to know like a time frame, for me, an hour is well enough for drawing, painting, everything. I can be done in about an hour. So that's just my take on it. Now, if you are painting a scene in winter in snow and the paper doesn't dry, that's different. But for like normal average drying time, or just do it plein air, not plein air, alla prima, just paint, don't let it dry and just finish it up in one go. But just be present. That's the most important thing. It's an opportunity to really be present with the subject. kind of like painting or drawing a person that sits in front of you. Right? It's an actual thing you're communicating with, you know. So yeah, Alessandro, my question: how to paint a picture where there are no nice colors, not a real focal point, many details, but you still want to paint them. In a few words, how to make that picture interesting. How to paint a picture where there are no nice colors, not a real focal point, many details. So the thing is, if you have many details, one of them will naturally emerge as a focal point. Okay, you have to understand people will look at your work and interpret it. So it doesn't matter what it is, and the proof is in museums. You see a big canvas, and all it has is just one black brush mark, and that's art that's in the museum. And people look at it and ask themselves, what did the artist mean? What did they try to achieve with this painting? What are they trying to tell us? You know. And by the way, I have a few comments to mark as spam here. I don't know what that is, so let's block the user. I don't want anyone clicking weird links. Let's see. That's another one. Good. People will interpret it. They will find a focal point. That's the cool part. It's like you can see faces everywhere. If you look at cars, you see they have weird faces, right? I had that as a kid a lot. I don't know if I'm probably one of the weirder ones, but most people probably don't see it as much. But they will find a focal point. So my suggestion would be just paint it the way you want to paint it and let the chips fall where they may. Let it kind of do its thing and let people find what's interesting about it, right? Don't try to make it interesting, just paint it as you want. And then what you can do is start a feedback loop going. So share it with a few people, send it to me, and ask their opinion. And then you can do, a bit of correction for the next one. You'll think, okay, this is how I make it more interesting, right? It's very non-technical. It's not like you have one major focal point, a secondary one. They have to be this distance from one another. They have to take up this space, or they have to be this dark. It's art. Just paint it the way you want, and the focal point will naturally arise, or it won't, and people will wonder, where is that focal point? They can't. Another effect is to show someone a painting they can't focus on. They're like, what am I supposed to focus on? Think of a blurry picture. It's really tiring to look at because you can't stop, right? So that could be another message that you want to convey to people, right? Li says, hi everyone, I'm late. No worries, we're just getting started here. I think it's pretty early still. P.S. I watched your last video, by the way. Thank you so much, Alessandro. Gail says, yes, I like the interactive conversation with the two other participants. Oh yeah, that's fun. That was really, really fun. I think the bonus makes it really worth it. Hopefully it's worth it without it too, but that was really, really cool. It brings something different in me. Maybe I should film. You know what? Maybe I should film an entire process in Hebrew and then just add subtitles. That could be interesting. Let me know if you're interested in that kind of a bizarre thing. Lola NP36, thank you for all the help and encouragement for creativity. Regarding color mixes, I would like help with skin tones, light and dark. Yeah, so anytime you talk about colors, it takes a lot of experimentation, right? So skin tones in general are just a combination of your three primary colors, right? So if you take your blue and red and yellow, you will be able to mix skin tones, right? So if you take a bit of blue and a bit of red, and you get this kind of a purple, and then you add a bit of yellow to it to mute it, you will get something that is close to a skin tone. If you take a bit of yellow and red, you produce an orange. It will be orange, right? And then you add a bit of blue, you neutralize it. Maybe you add more red than yellow, and then it's a bit pink, right? You have to understand all skin tones fall within some kind of a range, right? All skin tones can be mixed with basic primary colors. I really believe that because skin tones aren't too bright. If you have something like this bright red, right? That's going to be hard to mix with maybe a muted red. But if you have something that is fairly muted like this, right? And whatever, if it's a light skin tone, if it's a dark skin tone, if it's in the middle, it doesn't matter, it's going to be the same. It's all going to fall in this scale of somewhere around using all three primary colors. So what I would do is how I mix them, at least I try, is I start with something that looks close. So if I look at myself, I see pink here. So how do I do pink? I'll put a bit of red, right? and then it will appear somehow, and I'll be like, okay, that's too red, so let's add a bit of yellow. I'll add yellow. That's too orange. I'll add a bit of blue, and that's how I do it. One thing, I'll just drop a link. I think Stan Miller's video on it is the best. Stan Miller color matching. It will work for any skin tone. He's just genius. So where do I find that video? He has a very specific one where he shows how to match the colors. I do want to find it for you because he can explain it better than I do. Videos. Sort by most popular. I keep forgetting which one it is, but 3-color. Where is it? He has so many good videos, and I keep losing the one that's on actual skin tones. So let me try a few, and I'll find it for you. It really is important, I think. So it's either this one. Let's see here. And you know what I'm talking about if you've watched his videos. You know what I refer to. He just shows how he matches his own skin tone. It's pretty mind-opening. Forgive me for the slight dead air. I will show you in just 1 second. Okay, so it's not this, it's not that. Watercolor basics. I don't think it's watercolor basics. Color and value. Controlling your brush. Watercolor basics. Color, 3-color. I think it's the 3-color. Let's see here. Okay, if it's not this one, I'm gonna give up. If it's not this one, I will just be back to you. So let's see. Someone probably pulled it up by now. I'm so slow. Oh yeah, there we go. Okie doke. Okay, so I'll just share one really good video. It's not the one I was referring to, but check it out. This one. That's a really useful one. I should just do a video on it, honestly, but for now, just to give you something, maybe it's this one. I'll have to find it and maybe drop it as a comment. Yeah, I'll find it later. Sorry. I don't know why I can never find this video when I need it. But in any case, he's a genius, and he really shows how to do this really, really well. Now, if you talk about the darker skin tone, you'll mix the exact same thing. You just need to get a darker value. So you'll put more blue, more red, which tend to be darker naturally compared to yellow. And then you'll add a bit of yellow to mute them, to mute the purple, right? You'll play around with that to find the right balance. But it's all going to be how much blue do I add more? How much red more do I add? How much? Open up the picture in Photoshop or any other software you can sample the color, or use one of these viewfinders, put it on and try and see it accurately. I know it's a bunch of general advice I throw at you, but hopefully that'll help. White res. A challenge I'd like to tackle next spring is to paint outside, in the nature, but also in town. The thought that people can see my bad inexperienced attempt is pretty scary. Any advice? Yeah, ignore them. It doesn't matter. Honestly, I think we're kind of in a bubble. Let me give a different take. So this is something I don't think I ever mentioned. So we're in the art world bubble, and what I mean by that is, we think that people actually, they see our work and they say, oh, it's bad, or it's really good, or it sucks, or whatever, right? If I were to walk outside on the street and someone would paint a scene, right? And I look at the paper, and what I see on paper is completely different from the scene, right? I look at that and I'm like, that looks completely different. He's doing something abstract, something, whatever they're doing, something very different. I would be like, what are they doing really? I wouldn't think they have bad skills. I would just think, oh, that's really cool. A person is painting outside, It's only the art community, that think that other people, have that judgment. Usually they won't, right? Now, sometimes I will see in Facebook groups that aren't around art necessarily, someone shares their art. And me as an artist, I can look at it and say the person isn't well trained, right? They haven't practiced a lot. But people in the group are like, whoa, that looks so cool. And people that aren't dealing with this, that aren't painting like us, that aren't trying to paint for a very specific style, even, they're just looking at art, I find are very open to weird art, to art that is not representational, to art that looks completely different, that doesn't match what you see at all, right? The the typical person that will walk past you will have zero feedback for the most part. And I know some artists like to complain about that, people looking at them, interrupting them, having all sorts of suggestions, right? Like you wouldn't tell a doctor, maybe you will tell someone else like what to do, but when it's an artist, they're full of suggestions. I think that's kind of cliche, that's incorrect. I never had anyone give me suggestions, and trust me, some of my plein air work is terrible. Plus, I painted a lot of plein air at a time where I was much less experienced. So I just dropped my electric socket splitter. I hope it won't. I hope nothing breaks. Okay, good. I think we're good. I'll have to put it back up later. But in any case, yeah, just use my leg to make it fall. Just the general population that you'll see outside won't care. They won't have any feedback. They're like, oh, cool, a person is drawing outside. That's all there is to it. And I'll tell you what, like the best case is someone is gonna stop by and say, whoa, cool. The what's probably more likely to happen is the person's just gonna walk past you and not even notice you exist. That's at least what I experienced. I can paint the best thing ever and people won't even notice. I can paint the worst thing and they'll stop by and look and say, oh, that's really cool, what is that? The most typical question I do get when I paint outside is, why did you decide to paint that? It's like, oh, that's cool. Why this spot? That's the most common question I get actually when painting outside. Why here? And most people, they see just a building. They see the building they walk past every day and it doesn't look beautiful. They don't know that I like the light and shadow pattern or whatever it is, right? The thing that made me paint it. So it's just funny, the things that we have in our mind that we think will happen. You, no one cares really. I hope that encourages you. The people usually don't care. I would be happy sometimes, honestly, if more people would stop and look, because at least it means they care. But yeah, go for it. Go for it, and start in nature if you don't want to bump into too many people. Seth says, "Thank you so much. You got it." Just chilling says I'm late, but we have time. Don't worry. Thank you for being here. Tom Ford. All painters have it easy with skin tones. You're right. Oh man, oil painting, as much as sometimes like, oh, I really want to give it a try, just the thought of mixing for so long and then mixing again for painting 1 inch to the right or 1 inch to the left, it just, I lose patience so fast. Donna Bullman says hello, welcome aboard, Donna. I hope you're doing well. Henny says hey, hey, welcome. Hope you're doing well too. Gail says, on YouTube, I watch many valuable demos by artists with English subtitles. It's my preference over music, which I usually mute unless it's Doug or Ruth. Ruth is music to our ears. Yeah, it could be fun to do like a subtitle. I thought about just translating the whole thing, but yeah, it's a lot of work. It took me a lot of time to add subtitles to that video, by the way. Tom says, in dark skin tones, I love colors like quinacridone violet. That's actually a great suggestion. And transparent red oxide. I use a light blue wash, though, because black tones reflect light differently. Yeah, that's true. That's actually a great suggestion because strong colors like that, like quinacridone violet, even quinacridone rose, will help you get that dark value fast. And then you can balance it out with a yellow or with a blue, to balance the color out. Sometimes getting that darkness can be a part of the challenge too. So yeah, that's a great suggestion, actually. My favorite watercolor artists, other than Liron, are Instinct, Nick Rung, Joseph Bukovic, Alvaro Castanet, Mulek Millen, and some others I can't remember. Thank you so much, Tom. That's huge. I really appreciate that. To be mentioned in the same sentence as other artists, that's a big compliment. Thank you so much. White Reza, that's very helpful. Thanks. I'll give it a try. Very happy I could help. Dazzling Action says, hello, welcome aboard. So I think now is a good time to finish. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to finish yet. I have a few messages on Instagram. So let's check these out and see if we can address a few of the questions. Not too many actually. And also, I got a message from Hilda. I'm not sure you're here. Let me know, Hilda, if you're here, but I'll answer your question. I saw your message too. So, as for Instagram questions, John, who is here, but also going to read this. How do you choose the music for your paintings? Is it music you like, or does it connect to your painting? If it can connect to my painting, John, I'd love that if I have that option. But sometimes I just try to create a certain mood. So if I paint this statue and it has this pathos to it, it's impressive, right? I like to put like dramatic classical music, as you've seen. I like that kind of a thing. I find that it complements watercolor processes really well. Now, to contrast that, I painted Ted Lasso from that TV show, really good one. I use the intro theme. So it's really just kind of what I feel like at the moment. Now, an interesting question could be what do I listen to as I paint? Because I'll very often listen to podcasts and conversations and music. Um, I love to listen to a lot of Japanese music, anime music, stuff like that. But also, I like classical music, a lot of classical music as I paint and draw. I really enjoy it. Puts me in the zone. I always really liked classical music. Um, so it's a great experience for me. By the way, if you have any more questions, let me know. I'm monitoring the comments. So yeah, that's how I do it. Very random, many times. David asks, "Hi, how can I understand form better? I struggle with the shadows that make the form, like in rocks, etc." Yeah, so that's a great question. First, understand the basic forms. So, for example, a box, a cube. And then what you can do is start modifying. So I can actually show you an example here. Let me grab a random piece of paper that I have here. Um, it's going to be a bit of a lame demo because, of course, it's not, I don't have the right setup, but so let me show you. So let's say you learn how to draw this kind of a very basic cube, right? Then what you can start do is change the shape ever so slightly to something like this. So you basically bring one side of the cube up. So now this is a diagonal, right? You can slide down on it like a slide, right? Then you practice doing that. So the final shape will be something like, let me show you. That is terrible because I can't monitor what I'm oh, that's really bad. That is really bad because I'm looking at it at a funny angle. So this goes up, this goes down, this goes like this, like that. Yeah. So the final form will be something like this underneath, right? At a bit of an angle. Modify those shapes very gradually. Try and add another box that touches that box, right? Then when you look at things like rocks and things that have a specific structure, you'll kind of be able to visualize it as a simple shape, right? So you'll see maybe the rock looks like a cube, maybe you find a line that shows how it's twisted and you're able to really represent it well in this way, right? That would be my suggestion. I always like to send people to the basic shapes because I find most people don't do that. They don't go through the process of learning about cubes and spheres and boxes and trapezoid shapes and whatever it is, right? That's where I'll send most people. It's very likely that that's what I'll tell you if you have any question about it. So Hilda asks, how to build my confidence in painting, how to achieve my own style of painting. So that's one. And then you also send me an Instagram message. So let me make sure that I get that because I think it was phrased similarly, but a little different. Let's see here. Think it's under requests. And I will reply. Of course, there we go. In my opinion, painting is some sort of expression of emotions rather than mere brush and color. How to achieve that level to be able to reflect our emotions in our works. My paintings seem to be just a picture attached to the watercolor paper without any soul energy. So we have two questions. One, style, and the second one is how to express or reflect our emotion in our works. To have soul or energy. As for your own style, I just honestly think it comes with time. It's a lot of painting. Um, I will say one thing, and I also recommend it in the watercolor realism course. Look at videos, watch people paint, learn from their experience, do studies of other artists, but at some point you have to break out on your own. And it's a mindset shift more than anything else. As soon as you have that click, you'll develop your own style. So what do I mean by that? Break out on your own is try and find what you love to paint and strive to find references of it. That's what happened to me very naturally. I'm like, okay, I love cars. I started taking pictures of cars around the city. Okay. Um, I love still life arrangements. I started looking at interesting light and shadow on like things in the kitchen, stuff like that. The gas cans painting I did. Start to learn what you enjoy and strive towards painting that. Forget about everyone else. Forget about tutorials. Forget about Alvaro Castanet and Joseph Zbukvich. Forget about people you really love but just aren't you. And your style is going to be different, just like their style is different from other artists, right? You have to let all of that go, let go of the books, let go of the videos, let go of the tutorials, and strike out on your own and do your own thing and practice in isolation. Just practice, practice, practice. Paint your own scenes. Taking your own photos is huge in that regard. You can paint based on online photos. That's fine. Find something you like. Find something that looks good in your opinion, that reflects your emotion, maybe, right? But at some point, you will find that it's just not enough, and you'll start wanting to take your own pictures. That's what happens to many people I talk to. That's what happened to me. So that mindset shift of I'm now my own artist and I'm going to paint my own things and I'm going to make my own mistakes and I'm going to make my own successes. That's the thing you want to do in order to develop a style. It ultimately comes down to brush time. How long you're going to spend painting, right? After a while, you'll feel like, oh, I want the external inspiration. Start looking at artists again. Find something that you're like, oh, that's really cool. I may want to incorporate it. Do that, and then go back to your cocoon and try and bring that back in. Okay? That's for style. I really believe that. Now, as for emotions and having the painting say something, a lot of my paintings that I like on a technical level, like the gas cans is a bad example because I feel like it also shows whatever is going through my mind. But paintings that are almost as good as the gas can, and I still feel like don't show any strong, a strong reflection of how I feel, what I think, my style, even though they look great. So that X factor that it's very hard to define in words, I would honestly just say you really have to make the if you want to be able to sing a song, you need to learn the language. So to learn the language, you have to really master techniques to the point where they're intuitive. And only then you have a prayer of being able to sing like that. That's what I believe. Of course, you can ignore that, don't learn any technique, and just go ahead and paint. You may reach good results. You may teach yourself, right? But you will teach yourself eventually techniques. You'll just be the one that who teach, oneself, but it's not going to be someone else. But you do have to learn the words, the letters, the words, the sentences to write and then to make poetry. And I think learning how to control the medium, learning how to let go of the medium, those are the words and the letters which make sentences. The sentences can be your attempts at painting, right? You're trying to paint and you maybe fail, right? And then once in a while, you'll produce a poem, something that really sings. And with time, more of your sentences will become poems. That's how I see it. I hope that helps, that little analogy. But it's great questions. It's things I contend with still. I feel like I did something really well, but it still doesn't. It's not that X factor that you described. It's fascinating. So yeah, I hope that helps, Hilda. Marjorie, enjoy your company today. Here and time to go. Hope everyone has spectacular holidays and make them your best. Yeah, definitely. And if anyone here you need to prepare for Christmas and stuff like that, feel free to drop out. But thank you so much for being here, Marjorie, and everyone else. I think best way to get the right color, whether for skin or anything else, is to think abstractly of it and paint it as you see it. Yeah, exactly. Our brains tend to make us pick the color that is cliche and my yeah, that's so true. That is so true. It's just like, oh, I know a skin tone is pink. Let's go for pink. But then it actually is a purple or it's a green. Sometimes the mind plays serious tricks on us. That's why I think, yeah, sampling the color in Photoshop can help. All of that will help. Yeah, that's a rough one. I hate when I'm in the point of I recognize that immediately. I recognize my bull crap. I recognize when I go for that cliche color and I'm like, oh, I did it again. I know I got it wrong. What's the right answer? It's very hard to see, but I know I'm wrong. That's the weirdest situation to be in, honestly. Dazzling action. How do you break down the advanced color scheme that use more than four colors? It's an interesting question. So use more than four colors. Usually you'll find that like 90% of a scene you can mix with four colors, with three colors. Just three, right? Maybe if it has some very strong colors, you'll need a specialty pre-mixed thing to put there. But for the most part, uh, I don't even know if it's an advanced color scheme because you can create everything, right? You can create a purple with blue and red. You can do anything. You can mix anything, right? You may need one specialty color. So I would say 3 is for most things. 4 is like if you need something special. More than that, I find to be excessive for me personally, right? Now, if you do want to paint with more, I would go for, at first, I'll start with the split primary palette. So you get 2 versions of every primary color, a warm and a cool red, a warm and a cool blue, a warm and a cool yellow. So you'll get an Indian yellow, a lemon yellow, a pyrrole scarlet, a quinacridone rose, an ultramarine blue, a phthalo blue, or cerulean blue, right? That's all you need for the most part. So I wouldn't say there's really any advanced color schemes that I would break down, right? Now, how do you paint colors in general? That can be a question in and of itself, right? Um, let's say there's a wall and there's a shadow on the wall, and the shadow is cool, but the wall is warm. How do you capture that, right? So that's where layers do come into play, and I like to start warm and start cooling the more I paint. I also like to start saturated because I know the more I'll glaze, the more it becomes less saturated. It's very hard to get the saturation back. It's very easy to mute it. Um, that's the kind of process I go through. I have a lot of videos on that, but maybe I should do one in particular on this topic. It's a good one. I'm gonna write it down. Color process. But I hope these 2 cents help in a way. I know it's probably not the most exciting answer, but yeah. Li says to have energy in work, try painting fast. Yeah, that's what you do with your body. If you're standing up, if you're sitting down, that really influences energy. One thing I like about Planner is that it's standing up usually because I use the easel. It brings a different energy to the table for sure. To the easel. Tom says, Liron, I almost forgot to ask you this. Are you going to ever bring back the paint show? Just curious. Yeah, I'll probably will. A lot of people want that. It's fun. It was a fun kind of stint, and then I took a break from it because I'm not that big of a color nerd, to be honest with you. I like the simplicity, but it could be fun to bring it back and to test out a few colors. So let me say this: I doubt that there will never be another episode. Okay. Now, will it be permanent? Probably not. Like not every week, but there will. I'm sure there will be more. I hope that answers it. Gail says tourists are very dangerous in their generous, not dangerous. Tourists are very generous in their comments. In my experience painting plein air, it's embarrassing when they're persistent to buy it. They seem to want a memento. That's actually really cool. I love when that kind of a thing happens. It happened to me once. I painted someone's truck or something like that. Is that a scam? So I keep getting text messages. Some of them are scam. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Whatever. I need to look at it later. So I painted this guy's truck, and then he came over from whatever construction work or something he was doing. And I was like, dude, that's your truck. And he really liked it. He bought it on the spot. That's really cool. That's a huge compliment, I think. But yeah. Theodora Farah, that's another one of those spams. So I'm going to get rid of that. Block. I'm just blocking. I'm blocking left and right. Dean, I'm late. What did I miss? Yeah, we talked about a lot of things like arts challenges, things that people struggle with. I honestly just want this place and this channel to become more and more like a stage for conversations with time. That's a part of what I tried achieving with interviews, what I try achieving with painting masters, with all of these things, to give people a place to discuss not just watercolor but art in general. Things that you may struggle with, the mental side, right? So not only the techniques, but mental blocks. Like for me, I find I constantly go oscillate between wanting to work on my manga and really disliking it, and it's all here. It's all mental. Once I sit down and actually do it, it works out. And every new page, because I need to draw people there, and it's a little more accurate. Every new page I draw is a new struggle. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get this the pose right or whatever, and then I'm just able to. So a lot of it is mental. It's just what we think. So I'd like to give more stage to those kinds of things, those kinds of thoughts. Um, a lot of things are like real life problems. People go through things, people go through hardships in life, and that really influences your art and your quality. If there's and the quality of your creation process. Um, to me, I'm so. Oh wow, yeah. I keep forgetting my MacBook is a magnet, so it magnets stuff. It magnetizes this thing. Um, to me, I'm just super grateful that I haven't gone through that period of being really out of it. To me, these are very few and far in between. I am, for the most part, feeling very motivated to paint and create and all of that. Um, so yeah, I just like to give a stage here because I think I have a unique perspective on that. It's something I never really had to deal with in a way. So hopefully my kind of happy-go-lucky approach can help people. Dean, I'm not sure what you refer to, much like new watercolors. So let me know. Oh, the blank page. Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yep. When I got started, I had a few of these times where I felt, like it's a bit hard to bring the motivation, but it went away with action and not with extreme action. I did paint like 3 hours a day every day, but it just went away. With more experience. When you're so used to the techniques and everything else that it becomes boring, but in a good way. You just want to create something fresh. That gives me always the motivation to continue. So I hope I can help other people hone that kind of quality. Marina, love your painting masters video. A good follow up would be a live doing a simple study. Oh yeah, that could be fun. So okay, so a live stream where we do a study of a master. We'll do that. Live painting masters study. Because people also suggested us to do suggested. I can't talk. Oh, there's my phone call. I'm just gonna mute myself for a second, okay? Sorry about that. Yeah, delivery is here. I'm gonna have to in just 1 minute open the door, get my package, and then we'll continue. But yeah, we can definitely do that. Someone suggested painting masters live, which could be cool as well, just to do the painting masters showing to go through people's art. But let me know. I'm actually curious. Who would you like me to paint? Let me know in a whose work would you like me to paint? Curious to hear. Because there's the classic ones like this Bukovic and Alvaro. I think I showed a bit of that. If you want something a little more original, something like Mark Foley or something like that, I'm actually curious to hear. So let me know. I'm gonna get my package and be back in a Okay, sorry for that intermission. So grateful that I haven't lost all of you in that break. Yeah, so I had to get this thing. Usually, this delivery guy, he's always, it's like this area is his responsibility. So usually I just help them out and go down to pick up this stuff. But when I'm busy, they know to bring it up. I ran up the stairs. So yeah, we'll do that. That's a great idea, actually, Marina. And by the way, what was I wanted to say something else? Okay, never mind. Tom, you're really making it on YouTube. That 500,000 sub mark is closer than you think. Hopefully. So here's the thing, Tom, and this is a good point to open it up. And it's something I mentioned before. I wonder what would be that next growth catalyst. Because the watercolor niche is quite strong, quite small, right? It's strong but small. Now, if you look at someone like Steve Mitchell, the Mind of Watercolor, probably one of the biggest watercolor channels. He's around what 300K, I think, which is huge. But the next tier, if you want to get to the 500 or million, usually I find that it's people that do other things. Now, some of these things are not me, but I wonder for me personally, what's that next, appeal to a wider audience in a way. Now, it may not exist. I don't know, and I don't want my content to become something that maybe I'm not. Definitely don't want it to become something I don't enjoy as much, and I also want it to stay as helpful, right? And I think production quality goes a bit into that, and I can definitely work on that. But it's not really the main, like editing and music and stuff like that. But it's not really the core, like the core thing that pulls people in. And I actually think these conversations may be more of a catalyst for it, because I invite you, no matter the medium you use. If I do a watercolor painting tutorial, of course it's going to appeal just to mostly people who paint watercolor, right? Maybe you'll gain something general of it, but for the most part, that's the audience. But when we do these kinds of art talks, it's a much wider appeal. So I do want to do more of that. I'm just curious to figure out what that thing will be, because I do want to reach more people, and I do want to be able to encourage more people, right? So yeah, we'll see how it goes. As for what I wanted to say earlier, because I just stopped in the middle of this, I just wanted to say again, if you have any particular artist, I see Gail, you said Edward Hopper, we'll definitely look into that. David A. Parfit is amazing. Sargent, yeah, Sargent, I actually did one study, but I can do more. So yeah, let me know if you want any other artists. Dean says it's the same for us writers. The blank page, yeah, for sure. That's when I was working on the story, Dean, my story for the manga, it was the same. Every beginning session was a bit hard, like the beginning of the session, but then, you start, you write something crappy, it slowly improves, you know it better than I do probably. But yeah, it's just how it works. You have to sometimes action precedes inspiration, and I don't mean that in the direct way of if you just sit down and paint and write every day it will arrive. I mean literally at the moment of writing, sometimes you just need to write something, and slowly the cogwheels start to spin, right? So yeah, it's amazing the parallels between creative people of all different fields, something to explore more, maybe talk to more people here. New water colonists. Funny. Insert Charlie Brown for sound effect. Let's see here. Let's get rid of this. I'm gonna put people in timeout if I see spam comments, because maybe someone's account is hacked. John S., do you think you'll do any more I critique your painting? Yeah. So I did a few of these, a series of critiquing your paintings. I have a folder with, occasionally when people send me stuff and I critique them. I waited for it to build up just a bit more. It's a good point to tell you, if you have something you want me to critique live, just send it over. We can do a live critique for sure. We can do a video like I did so far. Send it over. You can find the email address on the channel. And I would actually be very happy to critique it. I was just kind of waiting for the folder to fill in, but I think I have enough. But send it over if you have any more. I enjoy these because I learn a lot from others that were having similar struggles. And I would like to actually take it one step further. Maybe put the thing, the paintings into the computer, and edit it even digitally, and try and improve it. See if I can improve the whatever light and shadow, colors, whatever it is, connections. So that could be really good. And if you do send me, just make sure to send a reference as well. It really helps. Abdallah says, "Hello, Liron. Do you plan of an intermediate or advanced level Let's Paint Together style videos?" So I think a lot of them are like intermediate. I don't know if advanced, right? Because I feel like I'm an intermediate, but a lot of them are intermediate. The critique I get is that I need to do more beginner stuff. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear if anyone else shares this sentiment. I think the closest thing I had to an advanced was the gas cans, because that was really like a complex thing. Another thing I had, the under construction painting as well. Those are two recent videos. Those were a bit more complex, I think. But now Let's Paint Together, live stream, yeah, that's something I definitely need to do. Now, if you go over previous live streams, I think you'll find among them some more advanced stuff. But yeah, for the most part, I'm doing basic, maybe to beginner to intermediate. I tried to do more beginner actually, because a lot of people said I was going a little too off the deep end in complex stuff. But yeah, but I'll note that for sure, and we can do a paint along or something like that for sure, live, because I know that's a lot of people want that. Gail says Edward Hopper. I'll have that in mind. Marina says David A. Perfect Sargent, definitely. And check out, if you haven't, I did a study of Sargent, so you can check that out just in case you missed it. It's not the best, but it's decent, I think. White Reza, I recently watched your video about Victoria Pushedko and found her work very interesting, amazing spontaneity and color harmony. Yeah, Victoria is one of these artists that her work is, I think, unique among watercolors. Some may look at it and think it's a little kitsch or something like that, but actually, I think the more you know about watercolor and the more you develop your taste, the more you understand what goes into her work. I don't see a lot of people paint like this, honestly. I don't know of any artist that paints like her. So it's super original in watercolor, that is, right? But of course, different mediums will look completely differently. But in her style, I don't know anyone else who does that. So just amazing. Yeah, I share the sentiment for sure. Maybe we can do a study of hers. Yeah, it will be a challenge to get those fiery reds or strong oranges or blues. Yeah. Tom, I definitely think more audience interaction is a big part of it too. These talks are great, as well as some possible group art challenges in the future through this channel and on Insta. Yeah, definitely. A couple of things on that point. I actually think replacing one more video a week with a live stream could be fun. So a couple of things. I feel like I'm spending this amount of time on creating content. Maybe this will be me sharing my art struggle now. I feel like I spend this amount of time creating content and this amount of time interacting with you. This is why the live streams are really a breath of fresh air for me, because it gives me that opportunity. But I feel like so much time goes for that, creating the content, filming, editing, all of that, uploading, scheduling, and maybe a bit of promotion. Maybe I should reduce that and put more effort into actual communication. So I had this idea in mind to maybe remove one video completely, do 2 videos a week, because most people I don't think can even handle 3. It's a lot. It's a lot when it's tutorials and heavy stuff, right? I try to mix it, of course, and have some talks, some this, some that. But generally speaking, I thought removing one and doing more time, like answering messages and emails and stuff like that, but maybe replacing occasionally one of them with a live stream would be good, because it's less time. When I work on a video, I think it will take me on average 4 hours, maybe 5. If I'm efficient, it's going to be 4. If it takes longer, 5. If it's a long process, more than that, to film myself, painting or whatever, to edit it, to upload, all of that. But if I do a live stream where I paint for 2 hours, it's just 2 hours of work. Of course, I have to prepare for it, but it's 2 hours and I don't have to edit anything, and it's up there and it's more interactive. So I'm definitely thinking about it this way too. If I do only live streams, it'll just be, I don't have to edit anything. It's going to be a little more time effective, right? Who knows? Some processes dictate more like focus, and I need to just film and listen to music while I do it and not talk. But I need to find the right balance, I guess. Definitely more Instagram. just to do some live streams there. I just don't. I could just put my phone here and do this live stream simultaneously on Instagram. I should. I'll do that next live stream, because why not? Live on IG2. I'll do that. It's just silly not to. Why not? I can do live simultaneously. Look at both screens, and appeal to the Instagram audience. And yep, definitely more audience interaction. I want to devote more time to that. Dazzling action. Got to love how painful the blank page is. Part of the fun of it. Yep, for sure. These studies I have here at the back, it's just thumbnail sketches. And honestly, I based them on nothing. I just needed to invent something. So I put something there. First one was nothing like I wanted. So then I learned. I did another one, very loose, very just... I'll just bring them over and show you. Just a second. Let me show you. So here's the story. I wanted to paint a more wholesome scene of Pokemon. Just, chilling, hanging out like this. You see Lapras here playing with a Starmie. Is that a Starmie or a Starmie? Starmie, I think. Quagsire here in the water. Now, to do such a scene, it's not easy. You need to prepare. So here is my first compositional attempt. Where is it? I think it's this one. This one right here. I didn't know what I want, so I was like, okay, let's put a horizon line, put a rock, put a tree, whatever. It wasn't what I wanted, so I did this one, right? I know it's a bit hard to see, but this is from the angle from the ocean towards the beach, right? And it was a big mess, but I understood what I kind of need. And then I did this one, and I went over with pen and ink over the correct pencil lines. And then I figured I want to switch between Dratini here and Octillery. So here's what I will do instead. I did this correction to the side here, you see? So they're going to face each other kind of like this instead of like that. Just a better composition. And then I redrew it very lightly here. And now I know where I'm going to place everything. Lapras, Quagsire, Starmie here, all of these guys. So to get to this, which is still incomplete, right? I had to go through this fear of the blank page. And the first thing that started it is this. This looks nothing like what I have right now on paper. Nothing. I just forced myself to put a horizon line, put a few rocks, and try and see something, right? Now, I did open up a lot of references of tropical islands and beaches and stuff like that. That's a part of the process, right? But that blank page, you just have to start. Just have to start with the crap that it's like there's a bit of crap, and behind that bit of crap, there is a lot of gold. You just have to put that bit of crap on paper, not literal crap, of course, and then the gold comes. But you have to just get it out of the way. So yeah, sorry for that disgusting analogy, but hopefully you get it. Did you consider doing lives on Twitch? Yeah, I looked at Twitch a bit. It was like, I don't get it. I don't get the interface, and then I quit, but I should. I think I did one live stream actually outside Plein Air on Twitch, funny enough. But yeah, I should probably take another look. Twitch is more for gaming, but still art. There is a lot of art there, I know. IRL, they call it, in real life. But I should add Twitch to my repertoire for sure. John S., I think you deserve a bigger audience. My advice would be to label more of your videos as art advice, not just watercolor. Yep, exactly. Just like your last video applies to all mediums. Yeah, I'm trying to head in that direction, to do more, not even just art advice, but also painting advice, which is more specific, but it's not watercolor, right? One more thing I'm playing around with is changing my entire communication to not even mention it's watercolor. I just say painting. Even the hashtags on Instagram, I used to, yeah. I'm just experimenting now with not doing watercolor art, watercolor painting, but just one or two watercolor and then watercolor in British. And then the rest is painting fun, painting art, painting artwork, whatever. Because I want to slowly brand it as just painting, and not necessarily just watercolor. I would actually like to make the watercolor audience bigger, meaning to create the niche, right? If there isn't enough people that are into watercolor, I want to bring more people into watercolor, of course. But that's something that will build up in the future, I think. White Reza says her portraits in particular mind blowing. Are you talking about Victoria Proshedko? I don't even remember if I've seen her portraits because I'm so familiar with of course, the cityscape Proshedko portrait watercolor. Why don't I remember her port? Oh yeah. Okay, okay, I remember that. Not a lot of them, but the ones that she has are incredible. Yeah, yep. She's amazing. Really, really mind blowing. Yeah. I said I'm on it. We should do a live stream where I just go through Google Images and we just look at art together and like, whoa, that's crazy. Whoa, that looks really good. I love that. We'll do that. It's a more fun, free flowing kind of thing. Marina, how about Pokemon live stream for all Pokemon fans here? Yeah, for sure. I should definitely do that. The first live stream I did on the channel, funny enough, was me. I think I was painting or inking and painting the evolutions. I did a Vaporeon, Jolteon, and Flareon. But yeah, I'll do something like that. That's something I would ideally want to do as an addition and not necessarily instead of the normal live streams, but we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, so we've been going for about an hour and 45 minutes. We can continue for sure. Google Images and art sound dangerously fun. Yeah, the only thing I need to watch out for is I don't know what images are going to pop there. So I don't know. I don't want it to be something not suitable. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I would start these portraits. Yeah, her just the way she does the big shape with an edge, and then just this edge defines like the hairline, and that's it. And all of the hair has tons of variations, the blues and the yellows. Yeah, it's real genius, and I think it really is a testament to probably how much time she spent working on her skills in isolation, because I really don't know a lot of people that paint like that. So it seems to me like Victoria allowed herself a lot of time to develop that style. Kind of like Joseph Zbukvich pioneered his style, and then a lot of people started painting similarly. Um, it really is. I think a lot about allowing yourself to break out on your own. I really do believe that. Um, Marina says I have to go back and watch. Yeah, definitely. I think you'll enjoy it. But I was my live stream skills. I don't know how good they were. It was a long time ago. I remember the decision to start streaming live. It's so weird that I didn't before. What was it? 2020? Or yeah, I think I started live streaming in 2020. Actually, we can check very easily. Let me see when the first live stream was. That's interesting. So now we're on the end of this December, of course, 2021, and then we'll go to, of course, just going to the YouTube homepage. I find myself doing a lot of add to watch later, add to watch later, add to watch later. But let's see here. Content, live, because it has a separate category. And I can go back and see when the first one was. So let's show 50. There was so far about 100 of them, I think. It's hard to say because it's a bit hard to count. First live stream ever was October 1st, 2020. Huh. So end of 2020, I started streaming live. Before that, it was just videos. That's not that long ago. So yeah, hopefully my art skills have improved since. My live stream skills have improved since. Johannes highly run. Can I ask you art challenges? Just get in. Can I ask your art challenges? Oh yeah, okay. My art challenges. Yeah, let me think about it. That's interesting. So what do I currently struggle with? Color matching as a part of the entire painting. If I look at a color and I very carefully try and match it, I can usually match it decently. But then as a part of the bigger painting, I find it very challenging. And I find that actually hurts my results because I am interested sometimes in matching the colors in certain areas, and I find that it's very hard. Now, I do think I'm also missing a few colors that I just need to buy more of, and then I'll be able to match some other colors. I was just too lazy to kind of do it. That's one thing. Another thing I struggle with sometimes is making the painting feel like a whole. A quality that I see with experienced artists is that when you look at a painting, it is a perfect creation in that it's self-contained. Everything serves a purpose. everything communicates with everything. And sometimes some of my paintings that I do, it feels like there are a few good sections, but they feel a little too separate. It doesn't feel, the sense of togetherness isn't there. And it has to do with a lot of factors. It has to do with the colors. It has to do with the drawing sometimes. It has to do with the shapes, the values, how I simplify them or keep them unsimplified. I would say that's a big one for me. Let me think. What else is like a big art struggle for me right now, or art challenge? Drawing is always a challenge. Portraits, drawing the portrait is very hard. I usually skip that and trace if I just want to do a portrait painting, right? But when I practice drawing people and portraits, I will do that, and then it's super difficult. I find that I'm beginning to be very good with basic three-dimensional shapes, cubes, boxes, stretch them, twist them. I'm starting to get it. Perspective as well. But when it comes to people, poses, I find that I have to model the pose on my own, film myself doing the pose, and then I can draw it more effectively. One more thing, very specific, putting people in perspective. So I don't refer to watercolor, I refer to, again, drawing. So if I draw a scene for the manga, one of the hardest things I find is to either match the person to the scene. So, for example, I can just show you. This is our point of view, right? If I bring you higher, see, higher point of view, or lower point of view, the way you see me changes, right? If you look at me more from above, you see more of the top of my head, right? It's very hard for me, or from below, right? It's very hard for me to match the angle of the figure within a three-dimensional shape. Is it twisted this way? Is it a bit like that? Is it a bit like, it's very hard for me to do still. Um, that would be the biggest thing, which is why I have to heavily rely on references. I became much better at using references. I'm much more effective and much more efficient in understanding the 3D pattern and then drawing it accurately. And usually when people look at the end result, they don't see any inaccuracies. But when it comes to inventing or inventing parts of it, I'm having a hard time. So I'll need to find an angle and then a person at that angle, maybe in a different pose, and then transfer that onto my pose. It's a challenge. It's a big, big challenge for me. It's not easy. Something to work on and develop. Really hard. John says we'll have to go now, Liron. Thank you for another great live. So we'll wrap up soon. Don't worry, John. Best wishes to yourself, May, and Cutie Ruthie. Everyone, happy holiday. Thank you so much, John. John, I really appreciate your support. Always means a lot. And I only wish that I can carve out more time and spend more time in direct communications, messages and stuff like that. Thank you so much. I sent John a few paintings. I think you like them, right? And John sent me tons of art supplies, so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Johannes says, my main art challenge is getting muddy. Can you exhaustively list the factors to yield the muddy colors? Thanks. Yeah, muddy is contextual. So in a painting, you'll find a lot of muddy colors. Those are the colors that aren't meant to stand out, right? Their role is maybe in the value or in the composition. I think if you find the right balance of leaving some paintings untouched, it will be very good and it will look like not everything is muddy, right? The problem is when people have a lot of muted colors that are different from one another. So you have this kind of a brown and this kind of a purple and this kind of an orange, and they don't communicate with one another. It's part of what I said about the painting looking split up, right? In my case, I like the individual parts that are split up, but they don't communicate well enough. In other people who are maybe more beginner, you may not like the sections themselves, right? I see that a lot of muted colors, and they don't communicate. So my advice to you would be, so the factor is too much mixing. So you're just producing a lot of different grays, and you're not proficient enough at having those grays match and communicate. So if you look at someone like Joseph's Bookfish, everything is a gray, but the grays communicate. They have some sense to them, right? He's doing something very hard to make those grays subtle temperature changes still communicate very well, right? So it could be that. It could be using too many colors. That's big. If you're using more than 3, 4, 5 colors, you'll lose it. If you start mixing, a bit of that brown, a bit of that red, a bit of that orange, a bit of yellow, a bit of blue, everything together, neutral tint, it all together, it tends to get messy, tends to get muddy, right? What I would say is limit yourself to 3 paints and even force yourself, at least for the first layer or two, to paint with them individually, purely. Do a wash that's only a yellow and a red, maybe in different places, but just a yellow and just a red. Don't mix them. Then do the next wash and try to have a big shape that maybe transitions from yellow to red to blue for the yellow, but have them individually show, right? Limit yourself to only 3 colors and see where that gets you. I think that's a big part of it. And don't spend too much time mixing on the palette. Just use the paint as it is, pure, I think that's a good cure temporarily. One more thing, using all sorts of different colors everywhere, that's also a problem. Connect. Do a big blue shape, then a big yellow shape. You will get there. With time, try to make them smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where if you go smaller, you'll start getting mud again. Okay, I hope that helps. It's a common issue. Feel free to send me a few examples and I'll be able to give you a more pinpoint advice. But that's the gist of it, in my opinion. Swarnadeep says, "Hi Liron, can you please give suggestions for framing a painting? How big should be the mount for different sizes of painting?" Yeah, that's really subjective. I would just say there's a range and don't go too extreme out of it. Like if the painting is this big, then you have this big of a white frame, and then this, sometimes too much is too much. Now, if you're framing it for a customer, I would just honestly ask them, right? I sell the paintings unframed because just with time I learned people prefer their own frames. I kept trying it and it's just a hassle with delivery. The painting is heavier, it costs more to ship, it can break. So I ended up just leaving that to the customers. That would be my biggest advice to you. But if you're framing for yourself, what I like to do, find a frame person who knows what they're doing. So my frame person was very good professionally, and he knew what colors will work with my color scheme. What I like to do is take a color that doesn't pop out too much compared to the painting. Like take one of the more muted colors in the painting. That could be a great frame color. Or you can go the other way around, choose the brightest, strongest one, and have that be the color for the frame. Now, as for the mount, so when you say mount, do you refer to that white border, the Passepartout? I'm never sure about the terminology. Let's see here. Painting mount. Sorry for my bad vocabulary. Painting mount. Painting frame. Yeah, okay. So I think I know what you mean. It's so subjective. Some mounts may be huge, some may be very wide, very thin. It's going to be so subjective. I would say this. If you connect, like you have the white frame, right? If you connect both sides of it, have them not be longer or taller than the painting itself. Maybe that would be like a general guideline, but it's so, it's so individual. And I think find what you love, find what looks good in your eyes and do that. I'm not a big expert in framing, unfortunately. I hope that helps. Gail says, Norman Rockwell's conceptual process was very complex to get continuity. He used live models, photographed them, etc. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Norman Rockwell, I love his work. This kind of a painterly, sometimes illustrative look, but still quite realistic. Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, I have no idea, honestly, how people used to paint. I sometimes have no idea how they manage to, return to the same subject day after day, even if it's not a person but a landscape, and you need to have the same kind of light and shadow conditions. So hard, Work for Mark says, hello, Liron. Hello, how are you? Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining. Tom Ford, muddiness always comes from dark, low chroma, opaque paints. If you use a purely transparent limited palette, you will never achieve mud. Yeah, well, you will achieve gray and muted, though. So I think the terminology is very vague, and I don't claim to know what it is, right? But it's just important to stress you can still get dark gray colors even with transparent paints, right? I think a part of it is showing some of the paints more individually and maybe mixing only two not more than that, right? But yeah, definitely the transparency adds a lot to that. Yeah. And I know what you mean in terms of texture. If the paints are opaque, it can get a little not only muddy in color, but also in the texture itself. That's actually a good point, Tom. Thank you for adding. It's a myth that using many pigments can create muddiness on their own. I think, well, yeah, it depends again on how you define mud. If you define it as that combination of low chroma, muted, and a texture, then yes, I agree. That's different. White Reza, you also have to understand color theory and choose primaries wisely. If you mix warm blue with warm red, yep, that's also true. If I mix sometimes, French ultramarine with pyrrole scarlet, I get this meh purple. You need to balance it out sometimes. A big tip to avoid mud in watercolor is not to use yellows in darks. Most are opaque. Interesting. But if you have a transparent yellow, then you would probably use it, right? I'm curious. I have to use yellows because I have to get the color right. I can't just rely on blues and reds for darks. If the blue and red are transparent, you will not necessarily achieve mud with a low chroma value. Interesting. Yeah. I'm not an expert in colors. Still have a lot to learn. Mud is very subjective. So we went full circle there. Muted and muddy. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We make up our own terminology, I guess, right? It's funny how watercolor is still, it has such a long history and it's still so unestablished, right? I can make a video that by sheer luck will get to a lot of people and that will establish a new term. It's really crazy to think about it this way. Some of my most viewed videos do, I think, have the amount of views that will justify like actually influencing terminology, I think. Let's see here, just out of curiosity, because it's so under-established, watercolor. It's pretty amazing. So sort by most popular. So my most viewed watercolor video has almost 500,000 views, 412,000. The next one about watercolor is 183,000. That's enough to influence like how people define things. So yeah, just have to be careful with our terminology, I guess. Dazzling Action says, I like mud. It's fun to to play with. Yeah, definitely. Johan says, interesting video, guys. Thanks. Yep. Lots of helpful feedback. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move towards wrapping up today. I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so, so much. I want to wish everyone happy holidays, happy Christmas, happy whatever holiday you celebrate, and happy early New Year. We'll have another stream before that, right? Next week's live stream is going to be on the 30th. So almost New Year's Day. So fairly excited about that. Another year, concluding another year. That's huge. I do like to look at what I'm achieving and what I'm working towards on a year-to-year basis rather than month-to-month, week-to-week, because I find that's too short-term and it's very hard to see progress in anything. And if I can help you maybe see that angle, and maybe if you yourself are judging yourself too harshly based on a shorter time frame, maybe that kind of hearing that kind of a thing can help, right? Everyone has their own way of doing things, and if you find that monitoring your progress in a more strict manner helps, do you, and it's more of a journey of self-discovery. For me, it's very helpful to postpone that worry. Like I postponed the worry till the end of the painting, to postpone the worry till the end of the year, end of the, just a larger, wider time frame, I think works a little better, right? Javi Jeff, how are you, my friend? Happy holiday to you too. And yeah, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much. Really, I'm actually humbled and overwhelmed by quite a lot of people here in this discussion. These live streams usually get fewer views, so I'm very grateful for that. I hope you enjoy the format. Hope the audio quality improves it. I'll try to stick to it whenever I can and whenever I'm streaming here and not on the table and painting. Thank you so much, White Reza. Thank you, Tim K. Thank you, Rolf. Just to say hello, welcome aboard. If you missed if anyone here popped in late, you can go back, watch the live stream. It's going to be up on the channel. New one next Thursday, as usual. Looking forward to see you there. Good video on Saturday that I think you'll enjoy from a previous live stream, actually. And that's it. We'll wrap it up. I will talk to you again real soon. Take care.